Across the sun-scorched plains of the Sahel, where silence once told the story of neglect, a new sound now breaks the horizon's roar of steel, the rhythm of renewal. In a land long defined by dust and distance, the ground trembles with the birth of something colossal, Africa's largest railway project, beginning right here in Burkina Faso. A 1,200-kilometer line entirely built by African hands will connect Ouagadougou to Niamey and Bamako, stitching together the heart of the continent not just by rail, but by purpose. This isn't merely infrastructure, it's a civilizational uprising, a movement of dignity laid in tracks, rising from the will of a people who refuse to be left behind. In every bolt, every bridge, lies the quiet defiance. We are not waiting, we are arriving. But what history must be untied before this journey can begin? Don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay with us as we trace the tracks of a rising Africa. In the dry heart of Burkina Faso, a woman named Mariam grows mango eswit, sun-kissed, abundant. But every harvest tells a bitter truth. With no proper roads, no refrigerated transport, and no direct access to export hubs, her mangoes rot long before they reach any market. She is not alone. Across the Sahel, millions face the same invisible wall. A transport system built not for them, but against them. What we now call infrastructure was designed during colonial rule for one purpose only: to extract. Railways, if they existed, ran from mines to ports, not from farms to markets. Roads bypassed villages. Terminals faced foreign ships, not African cities. The result? Africa, world's richest continent in natural wealth, became a prisoner to foreign ports, third-party brokers, and shipping routes priced beyond reason. What does this mean for sovereignty, for food security, for youth employment? Everything. Because until Africa controls how it moves, it won't control how it grows. And now, as the steel tracks begin to fall into place, the question echoes louder than ever. What happens when the chains of yesterday become the bridges of tomorrow? In 2023, something unheard of happened in the heart of West Africa. 3 young leaders, Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, Assimi Goïta of Mali, and Abdourahmane Tiani of Niger stood before the world and did the unthinkable. They expelled French military forces, rejected foreign dictates, and declared strategic independence. But they didn't stop there. They formed a historic alliance, the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, not just to defend their borders, but to rewrite the map of their future. Out of this pact came an audacious vision: a trans-Sahelian railway, over 1,200 kilometers long, fully funded, built, and operated by Africans. From Ouagadougou to Niamey to Bamako, this iron artery will not serve foreign corporations, it will serve the people. No longer a tool of extraction, it becomes a spine of solidarity, reconnecting communities once carved apart by colonial rail lines and artificial frontiers. This is not just a transportation project, it is a rebellion against historical injustice, a physical manifestation of political courage. At stake is more than just movement. It's about dignity, autonomy, and rewriting who gets to decide what Africa becomes. And so the question rises like smoke from a newly forged engine. If the Sahel can rise from the ashes and build anew, who else is ready to join the tracks of liberation? Asterisk, asterisk. When the world expected him to kneel before foreign banks, Ibrahim Traoré stood tall. Refusing the lure of high-interest loans and the infamous cycle of debt dependency, he made a bold decision: Burkina Faso would not trade its sovereignty for a ribbon-cutting ceremony. This railway, the largest in Africa, is not just steel and stone, it's a statement. And at the center of it stands Traoré, not as a mere administrator, but as the visionary-in-chief of a generational dream. Instead of turning west, he turned to BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, forming new economic bridges based on mutual respect. But the most powerful engine behind this project, the people themselves. Traoré launched a historic campaign to mobilize the Burkinabè diaspora, from Paris to New York, Abidjan to Berlin. His message was simple, yet electric. This railway is for you, for your children, for those not yet born. Invest not in fear, but in the future of your homeland. Within months, over $180 million was pledged not in debt, but in dignity. From taxi drivers in Rome to students in Dakar, contributions poured in. A nation once told it was poor was now financing its own freedom. This is what makes Traoré more than a president. He's become a symbol of what leadership looks like when it is rooted in faith, not fear. He didn't wait for the world's permission. He gave his people the green light. So now the question isn't whether it can be done. The question is, what happens when a continent starts believing in its own blueprints again? It's not just a railway, it's a masterstroke of strategic independence, green innovation, and national self-respect. The new iron artery begins where Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger meet, a geographic trifecta often ignored by global maps, now transformed into a continental launchpad. From there, it slices through the gold and lithium mines of Burkina Faso, surges across cotton-rich farmlands, penetrates the isolated villages of central Mali, and finally breathes life into a brand new Atlantic port in Niger. This isn't random engineering, it's a redefinition of geography through African eyes. But here's the real revolution. The trains won't burn diesel. Solar-powered locomotives will glide across this line, fed by dual-side solar stations built along the route. That means zero dependency on imported fuel. No more fluctuating oil prices, no more geopolitical blackmail, just sunlight turned sovereignty. This is what development looks like when it doesn't imitate, but innovates. Each kilometer of track becomes a lesson in sustainable logistics, energy autonomy, and regional cooperation. For young Africans studying engineering, urban planning, or environmental science, this project is not just inspiration, it's a living classroom. They can see what it means to build infrastructure that respects both the earth beneath our feet and the future ahead of us. If a train can run on sunlight across 3 nations once colonized by force, what else can Africa connect when it designs its own future? Asterisk, asterisk. They are the hands behind the iron. Over 38,000 local workers, not foreign contractors, not imported laborare, the heartbeat of this railway revolution. Each one carries a name, a family, a dream, like Ali, a 24-year-old from a sun-baked village in Bobo-Dioulasso. Just last year, he was fixing bicycles for a living. Today, he's welding steel with precision on a rail that will carry his country's future. In his words, "I'm not just working, I'm building history." That's what this project is doing, turning ordinary citizens into builders of legacy. The ripple effect is immense. Local companies are producing cement, bolts, solar panels, and even the protective gear worn on site. Skills training centers have popped up in 5 provinces, offering certifications in welding, electrical systems, and logistics. This isn't just job creation, it's economic re-engineering from the bottom up. And there's something deeper taking shape: pride. For many, it's the first time they see their labor valued not as cheap manpower, but as a national asset. In a region long told to wait for outside help, the workers of Burkina Faso are saying, asterisk, asterisk, we'll build it ourselves, asterisk, asterisk. If one railway can lift 38,000 people out of the margins, what could a continent build if every hand had a role? Asterisk, asterisk. It's not just a railway, it's a traveling celebration of identity. As the trains glide through 1,200 kilometers of Sahel heartland, they don't just carry cargo and passengers. They carry memory, rhythm, language, and pride. This is culture in motion. Every station along the route is a tribute to the people it serves. In Ouagadougou, the architecture of the Mossi rises like a modern palace carved from tradition mud brick motifs reimagined in steel and stone. In Mopti, Mali, the rooflines curve like ancient Dogon granaries, speaking of a people who once read the stars in silence. In Zinda, Niger, soft ochre walls bear leatherwork and hand-woven textiles etched into glass and concrete in ode to nomads who stitched their stories into cloth. But it doesn't stop at design. Local artists and storytellers have transformed every platform into a canvas. Asterisk, asterisk. Bold murals stretch across station walls, telling the tales of Sankofa birds, of lion-hearted queens, of ancestors who walked the very paths the rails now follow. Announcements echo not just in French, but in Moure, Bambara, Zama, and Tamashek, inviting each traveler in their own mother tongue. And when the train moves, it sings. Motion-triggered speakers weave in short oral histories, proverbs, even folk music curated by Sahelian elders. A 5-hour journey becomes a mobile classroom of heritage accessible to all, powered by sound, movement, and memory. Asterisk, asterisk. What's being built isn't just infrastructurates, a collective cultural archive on wheels, a defiant rejection of sterile modernity that forgets where it came from. This railway doesn't harass it, revives. It makes sure that progress speaks the languages of the land, paints with the colors of its soil, and dances to rhythms older than empire. In a world where globalization often means erasure, can a railway become a bridge between past and future without losing either? Asterisk, asterisk. It began not with a speech, but with the silence that followed it. The silence of old powers stunned. The silence of new generations holding their breath. And then a single stroke of a shovel in the dry Sahel earth shattered it all. With that, President Ibrahim Traoré did not just break ground. He broke alignment with a centuries-old world order. This railway is not simply steel on sand. It is a line of sovereignty drawn across the heart of Africa. A strategic artery that no longer points to colonial ports but toward autonomy, toward integration, toward alliance on our own terms. For decades, maps were drawn not with our consent, but with our resources, not with our will, but with foreign interests. Every bridge, every road, every pipeline came at the cost of political leverage. But this time, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger did not knock, they built. And that terrifies those who once thought Africa was a chessboard. This new railway, 1,430 kilometers long, cutting through the Sahel, isn't just logistical, it's legal, it's geopolitical. It's the right to connect without asking permission, to trade without tariffs dictated by Paris, to move goods, people, and ideas without the hidden cost of dependency. France, uncomfortable. Brussels, alarmed. Washington, cautious. But Ouagadougou, Bamako, Niamey, united. This time, the Sahel has chosen its partners not by race or religion, but by mutual interest: Russia, Iran, the BRICS alliance, and beyond. Not as substitutes for colonial powers, but as equals in a reshaped global table. As one observer said, "We used to lease our future. Now we own the tracks." Still, we must ask, will this bold move be protected or sabotaged? Will the continent hold the line when the backlash comes economically, diplomatically, even militarily? These questions are not rhetorical. They are real, and they must be met with real answers. Regional legal frameworks that codify independence. Local manufacturing that supports infrastructure. Civic education that informs the people of their stake. And, above all, a moral clarity that refuses to outsource dignity for loans. This is more than politics. This is gospel for a continent long denied its voice, a parable in motion. For if a train can be built without foreign chains, then maybe, just maybe so, can our nations, our economies, our faith in ourselves. So to those watching, save this video not as a clip, but as a chapter in African rebirth. Comment your thoughts. What does sovereignty look like in your country? Share this story because the old world won't report it, but you can. And finally, we leave you with a question no mapmaker can answer. If Africa is now drawing its own lines, who decides what comes next?